Okay, we are here. We are at the last video. We are done after this countdown. Let's do it. All right, so people in these satellite, we're talking about the Cold War and basically how it's ending up here in the early 90s. And we've covered kind of things that have happened in China, things that have happened in the Middle East. We are going to the fall of the Berlin Wall, which we watched a video on. So people in the satellite states, these areas here in kind of the west of the USSR, people in the satellite states began to embrace the ideas that Gorbachev, come on now. Gorbachev was supporting, and Poland and Hungary, all right, Poland right here, and Hungary down here, Poland and Hungary rejected communism due to their failing economies. And so communism and any political system is well and good until everyone is poor and can't eat, and all of a sudden, like, it starts to seem like, well, maybe we need to figure out a different way of doing this. And so as these economies were failing and people weren't able to like live the lives that they wanted to live, people start to look for a different form of government. And so we have places like Poland government rejecting these ideas of communism. And then, and again, as we saw this in our video, East Germans demanded individual rights and a better economy. And that's a really interesting spot because remember, people in the other half of the city are doing great and you can't go there. Could you imagine if you were over in, let's say, Reynoldsburg, and everything was very poor and was awful, and then over on the other side of the city in, Grove City or in like Arlington or whatever, by Morse Road, like Sawmill or something, everybody is living like great lives. They have freedom of the press. Their economy's going great, all that stuff. How would you feel? Be like, all right, this is ridiculous. I know Larry from before. Larry's not any better than me. He's got a cool house. It stinks. So protests started to develop in 1989. And the leadership, again, as we saw in our video on the leadership in East Berlin took down the wall that year. By the end of that year, the Communist Party in East Germany ceased to exist. And by 1990, East Germany and West Germany reunited. And so at the end of the day, right, what the USSR did not want after World War II and the United States did want after World War II has happened. Germany is unified, and today Germany is one unified country. We do not have West Germany and East Germany today. Okay, so at this time, let's talk about the end of the Soviet Union. At this time, the USSR stopped providing military support to many of the communist governments in our communist bloc, to many of the communist governments here in the satellite states. This caused several, one sec, what did I have here? No, I was going to put the wrong thing, so I'm glad I didn't. This caused several revolutions in those countries demanding freedom. So, first, Czechoslovakia, and you know what, because I'm so nice, I know Czechoslovakia is difficult to type, so I put it in there for you. I normally don't, but guess what? I was just like, we're not doing it. Romania's easier, so that's how the guided notes got in there. Romania, all right, also demanded reforms and the rejection of communism. So we have Czechoslovakia and Romania. We can go back to the map. All right, wait, where is it? Go back to the map. We have Czechoslovakia. Romania is right here. Czechoslovakia is right here, demanding independence. And so we see some of these satellite states in Eastern Europe did gain freedom. Or independence. What did we say? Did gain, well, yeah. I mean, those are synonyms, but did gain independence. All right. this caused, I don't know what that blank is. Blah blah blah. Asian demanded. Oh, to ask for the same. Ask for the same. And so what we have this kind of breaking point in 1989 where when Lithuania declared its independence, Gorbachev ordered an attack on its capital, which did not go well. He ordered troops to attack civilians in the capital, and so that was obviously a public relations nightmare. As the leaders in Moscow began to realize that time was running out to keep together the Soviet Union, they attempted a coup. They attempted a coup to take down Gorbachev. However, the people were angry about the attempted overthrow, which overthrow and coup is the same thing, and the Communist Party lost power in 1991. This marked the end of the Soviet Union. And now, we do not call this country the Soviet Union. We call this country simply Russia. And this is just, it's not in the slides, but I will note, Russia has recently swung back to its authoritarian tendencies under their leader, Vladimir Putin. And so, yeah, I mean, we see Russia in this kind of limbo where it seemed like in the 90s they were facing more in a more Western sense and have rejected communism and wanted to be a part of the world stage. We were like kind of de-escalating things, and then we kind of see today that we have a war in Ukraine, and we have Vladimir Putin looking a heck of a lot like an authoritarian leader, and kind of swinging back in that direction. Former Soviet Union agreed to a loose collection of states called the Commonwealth of Independent States. And so this is more of an organization, much more than it is like the USSR, where Moscow really controlled anything. They are independent states and make their own decisions at this point, but they do have a loose collection of states. It is also known as the Russian Commonwealth. And again, to this day, tensions exist between NATO and Russia, which is shown today by the war in Ukraine. In essence, the reason for this war in Ukraine is because they don't want Ukraine to become a NATO country. Because if it's a NATO country, then what can end up happening is we can have, like, there can be a bunch of troops here, NATO troops, like United States troops, British troops, right here on Russia's border, and it is almost impossible. This is like flat land. It is almost impossible to defend this border. This whole border here is very, very difficult to defend. And so if Ukraine becomes a NATO country, it's very easy to put tanks and planes and helicopters and troops right here on this border, and it's almost impossible to defend Moscow across this entire border. And so hence the reason for Ukraine. Whereas if no one's here, this is a much more defensible portion of Europe because of a mountain range that goes through here. That's like the gigantic summary. But anyways, that's it. That's actually just it. That's the end of the course. That's done. Have a great summer. It was great to be your teacher this year. Stay in touch. Oh, one sec. One sec. You gotta go the. One sec. Should we go all caps? The. No. The. Oh, come on. The end. Have a great summer. Stay in touch. Bye-bye. B219. I'll be here next year. Unless I get fired. Have a great summer.